The White House taking a tougher stance on Russia. This week, it announced sanctions on 19 Russian citizens and 5 entities for cyber attacks on the U.S. power grid and meddling in the 2016 presidential election. Virginia Congressman Scott Taylor sits on both the House Appropriations Committee and Homeland Security Subcommittee as well. He is also a former Navy SEAL. First of all, sir, thank you for your service. And
Thank you for having me.
Indeed. And let's get right to the point here. With these new sanctions, the Trump administration is taking a tougher stance against Russia, which goes against the grain of some critics, as you know, who said that he wasn't being tough enough. So is the Trump administration doing enough, or should more pressure be applied on Russia?
Well, this certainly was a good first step. Not only did they impose the sanctions, but also they joined in the condemnation of Moscow with our allies over in the United Kingdom. But I think we'll have to ratchet it up. Quite frankly, Russia has been a bad actor, clearly, in trying to meddle in our elections. That started under the last administration. Now it's true here. And quite frankly, the United States, we need to have a policy, a broader policy that says, sort of like a Monroe Doctrine, if you will, but in cyber, that tells the world, and certainly Russia what they will not do. And it will be flexible enough for the executive to act, but also will tell those countries what they won't do. And Russia, not only in our elections, but also in our power grids and other things like this, we need to have a policy, and we have to have the ability to respond in kind. We have the ability to do so, and we should. So I would like to see the administration sort of ratchet up the pressure.
Congressman, I'm glad you brought up that fact that we need a policy in place, because let's talk about what is possible in our own wheelhouse. As you know, there were 6 bipartisan members of the U.S. Senate Intelligence or Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and they were basically talking about the Global Engagement Center, which would provide $40 million to enact more cybersecurity, which would repel Russia's attempt to get into our power grid, into our private industry, as well as into our government. What's the holdup there?
So, there's a lack of understanding. There's lack of, I think there needs to be a whole sort of revolution in thinking and where we go here. Look, right now, the United States doesn't have a policy of what is an act of aggression in cyberspace? What's an act of war in cyberspace? What's an act of disruption, whether it's voting machines or power grids or financial sector or whatever? The United States has the best capabilities of the world. We should lead on this to set the rules of the game and help with our international allies and partners and foes to write these rules. 90% of cyberspace is in private hands. And why that's important is never again will we see a conflict that does not have some sort of cyber component to it. So gone are the days that you have a military target and a civilian target, because they're so intertwined now. So not sooner than later, we've got to get together, and we have to lead as a nation to create these policies and set the rules of the game internationally, because as computing power gets better, it won't just be nation states that we'll have to worry about, but transnational actors, terrorist organizations, criminal syndicates, and even individuals. So it's important that we grab the bull by the horns and get moving on this.
That's a powerful statement you just made there, especially about the 90%. And there has to be a public-private partnership in defending our homeland. Now, what impact, getting back to these sanctions, do you hope these sanctions will have on Russia, and also working jointly with the UK, which is also working on the same issue with not just cybersecurity, but also the poison that took place against 2 a former Russian double agent, as well as his daughter, Sergei Skripal?
Well, this is the first big overt move, I believe, by this administration. And quite frankly, Russia's been getting away with a lot of stuff. Now, there are, to be fair, and we have to say this, because there was a vacuum in the Middle East, and obviously you saw what happened in the annexation of Ukraine. There wasn't a lot of pressure put back on them, so they made pretty bold moves, and they've been able to do that. So it's important that the United States leads, that we stand with our allies to let Russia know this is not, you will not go any further. They've been emboldened. They've filled some vacuums. There are some areas that we have to cooperate with them on the international scene, like Syria, for example, because they're there. But it is important that we stand up and we let Moscow understand that they're not moving any further, and that we stand together with our allies to do so.
Congressman Scott Taylor from Virginia, thank you, sir, for your perspective and obviously for some very good information about the cyber war and how we have to combat that against Russia. Have a good day, sir.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
You as well.